Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got Reilly Chase here, the founder of HostiFi, a Unifi and UISP cloud-hosted service. What I wanted to talk to him today about is his service, who would use it, some FAQs that he gets a lot of the time. So kind of going into it, one of the first things I wanted to ask you was about the company itself, kind of how it started, the size of it today, because, I've been following it for, I would say at least, 2, 3 years now. And, it was just you and I think one other when I first kind of heard about you guys. So where are you guys at today?
Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, so it started in 2018 and it was just a side project that, I had an IT service business where I was managing Unifi deployments for multiple customers, and I wanted to have them all connect back to one cloud server. So, in 2000, well, this was earlier in like 2015, 2016, I set up my own cloud controller. And then after a while, I was managing my controller and keeping it updated. And I'd set up one for another IT service business owner who was a friend of mine. And so I was managing a couple of them. And so I kind of had this idea in 2018 to start it as like its own service. And I never knew it would become my full-time business. I just thought it'd be cool if 10 people would use it. And I just thought it'd be fun. And so I started in 2018 and it grew and grew. And I think it was like 6 months later, December or January, or it was January 2019 is when I went full time on it. And we had about 100 customers, and I think it was around like $2,000 a month in revenue, which wasn't very much to live off of, considering half of that was expenses. So I reached out to some investors, and so I actually raised a little bit of money for to help me go full time on it from an investment firm called Earnest Capital in April of 2019. And then, yeah, just steadily grew. I mean, pretty much since I started, it's been growing about 10% each month. And today, we are a team of 5 people in 4 different countries. Actually, it's a remote team. And we have over 1,400 customers and $660,000 in annual revenue. So it's just growing and growing. And it's been really fun experience.
It's really impressive. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I still remember when you guys were very, very small, and it was fun to actually kind of get to know you through your blog too. I know I feel like you don't do that as much often now, but the one thing that I read was what was it, the year what was the one blog that you wrote about? It was kind of like your year of hell or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, I had a blog that I was posting monthly updates every month in 2019. I called it a Hardcore Year, and that was something I copied from another person who had had this idea of, the first year in business is like really hard, and there's a lot of trying times. And so that was kind of my hardcore year, was 2019, my first year full time on my business. And each month I posted monthly updates about revenue and my experience, kind of growing it, each month.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I mean, I feel like a lot of people aren't that transparent with the business, so it was really cool to see that. So I guess one of the things that obviously most people are going to want to know is how do they get started with it, and then the second kind of part of it is kind of the use case behind it. So we'll start kind of with how do you get started, kind of showing people how it's obviously very similar to the same portal that they may see if they're already hosting Unifi themselves.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen for a moment here to actually, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen to show, what it's like to get migrated and stuff like that. Cool. So I have it pulled up here. This is our website, and there's a deploy now button. You can also book a demo. But basically, on our website, it's fully automated. So any time of the day or night, you can come here and purchase a Unifi controller or a UISP server. And within about 10 minutes, the server will be created and ready to go. And then we'll send you an email on how to get started. And that email will include instructions on migration and stuff like that. So usually when you're migrating your Unifi controller, you would use the site migration wizard, which is built into Unifi. And so if you have, a dozen cloud keys, you would run through this wizard, and basically it's a 3-step process where It's really simple. You just download the configuration file for the site, import it to HostiFi, and then tell the devices to contact the new server. And so you can see I'm walking through it right now here. Export site. This is the config file for this site, includes the wireless settings and all that stuff. And so I would come over here to the HostiFi server and pretend that was the cloud key. If you come over here to your server that you want to import it to, you go to the current site drop down and go to import site. This is where you'd give the site a name, upload the file. And so, yeah, it's really straightforward, just a 3-step process. And you would repeat this for each server you want to migrate to HostiFi. And if you're coming from a cloud-based environment, you could do the backup all at once and then update DNS to point devices to the new server. Over here, you could do the backup and all that. So yeah, migration is really easy.
The funny thing is I feel like your documentation for the most part is actually probably better than what Unifi has out there. So
Thanks.
like that's
Yeah,
another benefit of the service is getting that type of support that, if anyone's very familiar with Unifi, it's pretty much hit up the Discord, hit up Reddit, go to YouTube, all those different places to try to find the support. So you guys have that right on your website, and obviously you've got very good support just in general. So
Thanks. Yeah, we have full support, so people can live chat us, they can email us, they can call us, and you can book a demo with us. If you're looking to learn more about it, we can talk to you about it. Or if you're an existing customer, you can always book a demo with Vinny. Vinny is he's a Ubiquiti installer, and so he's an IT service business owner as well, and he's installed thousands of Ubiquiti devices, and he works for us 20 hours per week to help our customers with support. And then we also have 2 other guys that are full-time helping with support questions. One of them, Safwan, he was my first hire, and he actually used to work for Ubiquiti. So I met him when I submitted a ticket one time to Ubiquiti, and that's how we met, and we talked on Twitter, and then I ended up hiring him a year later as my first employee. And so, yeah, the team is like really knowledgeable. Honestly, Safwan and Vinny have done way more Ubiquiti installs than I have, and they're both great people to have on the team, really knowledgeable with the products.
yeah, and I mean, your Slack channel too that you got going, I feel like that's been really big too. I mean, I even go out in there and kind of contribute when I can. I feel like it's a good community. And what is it actually up to now? I was gonna check really quick.
Thanks. Yeah, I think there's like 800 people in it. Not everybody's active, of course, but there's a lot of great people in there that are contributing, and anyone can join it at our website. If you go to hostify.net and click the Slack button or the Slack menu item, you can get an email invitation to join our Slack channel as well. We have some cool conversations there. It's pretty much active daily now. Started off pretty slow, but now there's enough people that we have some good conversations each week there.
Yeah, and I've even noticed people will throw some other things out there that are, more related to like an MSP or, other type stuff, which is nice. It's kind of evolved from just being about Unifi and HostiFi, and it's become kind of a, if you've got an IT issue that, isn't too in depth, that, someone usually can help you on there. So it's definitely a good community.
Yeah, it's a nice little community. And HostiFi got started because it was something that I experienced in my IT business. And then it just kind of turned out that a lot of other IT businesses became my HostiFi customers. And so, we have 1,400 customers, and most of them are IT service businesses. So in a way, it's kind of an extension of like the IT service business community as well.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, I just thought about it and probably should have mentioned it at the beginning, but that's how we actually met. We met on what is it, IT pool party Slack channel. I think
cool.
that was, probably back in, so when did you start HostiFi? Did you start it in 18 or 17?
In May 2018 is when I started HostiFi.
So I'm trying to think. We probably met, I don't know, it was probably in maybe 2019-ish, whenever you jumped on IT pool party.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the nice thing. Anyone watching this, wants to kind of learn either more, or you're running your own MSP, or, you're just interested in IT in general. It's like these Slack channels now, Discords. If anyone doesn't know, Unifi does have a Discord channel out there. Do you know, is it actually sponsored by Unifi?
I think it's official, but I'm not sure. Like everything's kind of unofficial. I know the Facebook group's official. Um, and then, but yeah, I don't really know, but they do have they definitely have Ubiquity employees in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they moderate it, but you know, the Reddit, I think Reddit/r/Ubiquity is official. They have Ubiquity employees moderating that, and they have the Ubiquity employees moderating the Facebook group. But other than that, Discord might be unofficial. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
still a great community either way.
Yeah, I'm on there. The thing is, I guess if, you were to compare the two of, your Slack channel versus the Discord is that, you can kind of get lost in the mix, I feel like on their Discord, whereas, on a much smaller, even like IT pool party, people are
Yeah,
going to actually try to answer your questions. Sometimes, you'll throw something out there. I mean, Reddit's the same way. I've honestly sometimes deleted stuff that I've put on there just because you either feel like an idiot or something. And it's just like,
yeah, named.
you
I
won't
think
feel that way in these smaller groups.
Yeah, I think the other part of it too is like the business owner group versus the home users group, and
Yep.
so I think a lot less like there's a lot better like signal to noise ratio in the IT business owners group, and you're less likely to get flamed and stuff
Yeah.
like that. People
Exactly.
are going to make
Yeah.
fun of you much, and overall, I think people are more helpful in the IT business owner groups like IT Pool Party and in some places like that. But yeah, but you know the Discord though, some of these people get really into like everything Ubiquity, and so like that you can really find some interesting stuff in there that people are you know poking around finding out. So
Yep.
yeah, they're both have
Yeah.
their own pieces.
I think last
Reddit.
time we, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say Reddit too. Like for the one thing that I do like about Discord Reddit though is they're usually the first to surface news about Ubiquity or hidden products or early access stuff. I usually hear about it there first, and so those are bigger communities too than the IT business owner communities. But yeah, they each have their pros and cons.
Definitely. Um, yeah, I was gonna say, I think last time we talked, you might have shared your screen. You had your Slack up, and I think you were in like 15, 20 different channels.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, that's the thing, just kind of talking through all these, you don't have to just be a part of like one or two of them. You could be a part of a lot of them. I mean, I've kind of done that in the past, and it does get a little overwhelming, but you'll find something good out there if you just try to join a couple of them.
yeah. I highly recommend getting involved in the communities that you know, like for example, if you're trying to start an IT service business, get to know like the people who have already done it successfully. And I think that's a great way to learn is just watching, you know, what other people are talking about and stuff. And there's a lot of overlap between the different communities, but yeah, you get a little bit of something different from each of them for sure.
Yep.
A lot of the
Yeah, I
same people in
mean,
them though.
yeah, even in the IT pool party, they have it's either Unifi or Ubiquity in that channel. So,
Yeah,
some of the people from there kind of jump around from yours to that one, and yeah, there's probably a bunch of other ones out there that are very similar. I mean, even I'm on like one of the Mac ones, and on there, they've got Meraki, they've got Unifi, because
oh
obviously all
really?
these devices are connecting to it, so it
Yeah,
makes sense for it to kind of live in multiple different places. So kind of last thing just to touch on that is yeah, that's really why I got into it, what you mentioned about the MSPs and everything. And I haven't really mentioned it on this channel yet, but I do run my own MSP. It's not actually my full-time job, but that's kind of how I started getting involved with it. I started growing it as a side business, just trying to learn from other people that are doing it. And again, if
yeah,
anyone's out there trying to do that, I mean, obviously you're running your own business. It's helpful to kind of see what some of these other people are doing, and they're open to like actually explain what they're doing. There's certain either businesses or people in businesses where they're not going to teach you anything. They're going to say, you just got to learn on your own. Whereas with this, I mean, some of the people are even in my area and they're willing to like be open about it or even just work together. I mean, there's a lot of different businesses out there, a lot of different niches, and there's definitely room for everyone. So yeah, that's kind of, I just wanted to mention that, and then we can kind of move on to the next one here, which is just going over the use case. So obviously you showed the portal, showed how easy it is to switch over, but yeah, what's kind of the use case? And I guess before you go into that, I did want to mention too, kind of going back to that level of support that you guys have. And for $500 a year for that starting one, you get a lot of support with that comes with that. So I mean, even if you look at it just from the support perspective, like let's just pretend, I didn't even use your service. I could literally have that server spun up and ask questions. And then, you're literally getting like a full-time like IT service person for $500 a year, which is impossible. I mean, it really is. You know, if you hire even say my MSP, it's just, you're not going to get any type of service for $500 a year. So I guess kind of just talking through that and kind of the business use cases, you know, in general, you know, some people want to host all their own cloud controllers, but, you know, as we've talked about in the past, it just gets overwhelming. So yeah, if you just want to kind of talk on the use case and the support and, you know, how many customers you have, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like you were saying, there's a real benefit of, you know, software as a service at scale when you have a lot of customers, and so you're able to charge a smaller amount and provide a lot of service because we have all these customers, but they don't hit us up, like not hitting us all up at once. So we can spend hours with each individual customer, and it's fine. But you know, one of the big parts of it is like crowdsourcing the knowledge from all of these things that we're learning, because we're focusing on just Unifi and just UISP controller hosting. And so, for example, when a firmware bug happens, like with this last firmware version before the current one, 4.3.24, there were DHCP and multicast issues. And you know, when certain things happen that you know, we're usually the first to hear about it. And so because of that, we're able to help people, you know, what you might have spent hours researching on the forums and, you know, trial and error and stuff, we might just have an answer for you within a minute, because we've already seen it, we've already figured it out, we already spent the hours digging through the forum posts and trying all these different things. And so that's where the real time benefit, you know, money saver is when, you know, you don't have to chase down an update issue or something like that for hours. And it's something that our team's already worked on, already figured out. And so, yeah, I can kind of share my screen, talk about a couple of the different benefits. But I mean, that's the real benefit. It's just, you know, having someone who knows this stuff, and we're taking care of the updates, taking care of the backups. And by having everything on one server, it, you know, it simplifies it a lot. So whether you use HostiFi or not, I always recommend having just one central controller that everything connects back to, because that's just one place that you have to worry about updating the controller, doing backups. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really about the support and the updates and the backups. And we have a monitoring service. So we use a Zabbix controller, or a Zabbix server, that is constantly monitoring to make sure that backups are working, make sure servers are online. We'll automatically reboot the server if it crashes. We take care of the SSL installation renewal, and yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much it. It's not it's pretty simple, but it's we've spent a lot of time kind of making an art form out of something really simple. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the one thing there kind of that you were talking about too is, you know, being a single point of, you know, having to do all the updates and everything like that. So if you have multi-sites, it obviously can become very overwhelming. But at the same point, just so that, you know, everyone knows that a lot of people will hear that and they'll be like, well, isn't that also then a single point of failure? It's like, well, it can be, but obviously you got backup servers and different things like that. So from a cloud perspective, you know, you don't have to worry about that as much. You're not, you personally, or not you, but say the customer doesn't personally have to have redundancy in switches and the controllers themselves. I mean, you lose a controller on a site, you know, you're down until you actually replace that. Cloud hosted, you know, you don't have to worry about that type of redundancy that you have to put in place and everything as well. So
yeah, that's a common question too. And so just to kind of explain like how the controller works and how important it is to be online, or not important in some instances. Basically, if the controller goes offline, the devices can continue to work and, you know, pass the internet traffic. So if the controller goes offline, it doesn't take your network offline. There is one exception to that. If you have captive portals enabled, and the customer is connecting to the guest Wi-Fi, they can't get to the internet without first connecting to the controller and getting approval from the controller. And so that's like the one instance where the controller going offline would prevent someone from getting to the internet. But there's actually a workaround for that, even where you can configure it. So if the controller is unreachable, just allow the person to get to the internet without accepting the terms and conditions on the guest Wi-Fi page and stuff like that. So there's really no reason that the controller ever has to be online. Everything will work while the controller is offline. But what's nice about having it in the cloud is, like I said, we have the backups. With the click of a button, we can restore a new server and restore from backup, switch DNS to point all the devices to it. So within minutes, we can restore a server entirely. And if you had an on-prem server, you would have to go on site to do that potentially, especially if it's a cloud key and you have to reboot it or replace it or reconnect it to cloud access. So having a single cloud server makes it much easier. And it's actually better to have that as a single point of failure than to have lots of servers that are you have to maintain, going up or down or backups or SSL installs and all the different things you have to do. It's still a lot better to just have the one server.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually know that firsthand. I had one of the Cloud Key Gen 1s, the one with the
Oh,
little
really?
SD card in it. Yeah. And I actually was updating it and it corrupted the entire Mango or is MongoDB.
Mongo, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, just really quick to touch on that, just because I know that you guys obviously have extensive knowledge in that, but again, since that is your primary focus, like you guys kind of or like you talked about already, I guess kind of can you kind of just explain the whole like what else do you guys kind of focus on? Obviously, the MongoDB, that pretty much inside and out. What else, I guess, within those portals and different things that are kind of just like the quirks of it, because we've talked earlier about how you've literally put some type of automation in place to kind of fix some of those things that you may see on a normal controller.
Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time working with these controllers, and we've seen everything that can go wrong with them. And one of the most common problems is like the Mongo database and statistics data retention, and basically with different records can clog up the database and slow down the controller, cause it to crash. And so there's a lot of things that we're doing automatically, like self-healing kind of. So like if a controller crashes, Zabbix will detect that it's offline, automatically reboot, go through a series of steps like pruning the database and stuff like that to get it back up and running and alert our team if there's any problems. But we've released a lot of this information at support.hostify.net as far as like our processes for finding out where these problems are, identifying the problems that are causing Unifi to crash. Like for example, one really common one off the top of my head is like with rogue AP alerts. If you have a access point that Unifi is detecting that's broadcasting the same SSID, it will like fill the database up, like keep alerting you over and over that there's this rogue SSID. And so you need to either like turn that off or disable it, or you can turn the alert off or something. But there's these certain alerts that will like fill the entire server up with database entries and crash the server. And so the only like fix for that is like prune the server, turn the alert off or fix it, and different stuff like that. So yeah, like you said, like 9% of the time you're not going to run into these issues, but that one time that you do, you can spend an entire day trying to figure it out versus like we've already figured it out and we just take care of it for you kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's where it really makes sense. What we're doing can be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I follow your guys' LinkedIn just for that exact reason. I have all Unified gear at my house, and it's all I originally had it where I was running a Cloud Key Gen 2, and then just to simplify things at home, I went with the UDM Pro. But with that,
Okay.
I still check your guys' stuff of can I update? Like even at like a home network, I'm not risking it and
Yeah.
throwing on the newest update. So again, just to kind of talk through some of the benefits of Hostify, or even even if you don't have a use case for it as a business or an MSP or whatever it is, just following you guys on LinkedIn and YouTube and different things. So just getting that kind of early heads up of how's the testing going on the new firmwares. I personally already do that, so I would definitely recommend everyone to do that as well.
Nice. Thanks. Yeah. Basically our marketing strategy is just like give away as much free information as we can
Yeah.
and try and be helpful to the community and stuff. And so, people that follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, we post updates about stuff that we're seeing out there, and we'll let you know when we're updating our servers so that if we run into any issues, we'll let you know if there's any bugs, any known issues and stuff like that. And so that's kind of our channel for like letting everyone know what's going on with our testing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think there's something big to that. The whole just transparency and, like you said, giving things away for free. I mean, obviously, as a business, you got to make money at the end of the day. But I feel like being transparent and kind of walking people through things. I feel like when I first wanted to start my MSP as like a side business, that was kind of the biggest thing, was kind of lifting that curtain. I feel like that most IT companies back in the day used to do. they don't want to teach their customer anything. They want it to be where it's, a mystery to them, because then, it makes them more valuable. But I honestly think what you guys do makes you guys more valuable, because one, it shows you guys know what you're doing. And then two, it just shows that, you guys are actually trying to help the community and, just a good company in general. So yeah, it's I feel like it's refreshing to see, because a lot of the times in all sorts of different businesses, you don't really see that now. So
Thanks. Yeah, I agree too. It's a great way to build trust too, with your customers, and, having that transparency and stuff like that. They get to know you better and all that. So I think it's a great thing too. And it's kind of giving back also, because, I was able to start this business because because of other people who were really transparent and shared how they had started their businesses. And so that was really helpful for me. And so it's part of like giving back also.
yeah. And then the second part of that was kind of just talking about your current customers, how many devices you guys manage, and anything else kind of, I guess, related to, if you want to talk about servers or any other kind of numbers that go along with HostiFi.
Sure. Yeah. So just some kind of fun statistics, I guess. We have over 1,500 servers we're managing, over 1,400 customers. I think I said revenue earlier is like $660,000 a year, team of 5 people. And another fun fact, our server bill at Vulture is over $100,000 a year. So it's getting up there. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at, as a size of a company. We're not like a huge company, but we're no longer just like the one guy. So
Yeah.
we're somewhere in the middle, but we have big plans, this year. Some of the people I hired were really, really key people. There's a web developer who works for us in Germany. He's building a new website for us. There's a Vinny, who's our I don't know what to call him. I guess he's a sales guy, but he's more of a technical sales guy. But he helps customers get started. So when you click book a demo, you're meeting with Vinny, and he's installed thousands of devices on his own. He's an IT service business owner on the side as well, and he works for us 20 hours a week. And then we have Safwan and Saf, a new hire that's just still getting started as our support team. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about us.
I might have to see if I can pick up some hours with you guys at some point. You
Yeah,
need
man.
any weekend workers?
Yeah, we'll get you started.
And then so the other one is devices. I know we talked about that offline,
Oh
but I
yeah,
think you
yeah.
said you're
So
over
we
100,000 devices
100,000.
now.
That's actual Ubiquiti devices.
Yeah.
That's including our UISP servers, which is a much smaller part of our business. We're managing about 110 UISP servers, which they used to be called UNMS servers, but we just updated them, and now they're UISP, just a rebrand from Ubiquiti. It's the same product.
Yeah.
But yeah, so including the Edge routers and the Edge Mac, the Air Max, and the Unifi, all the Ubiquiti products, we have over 100,000 of them connected to our service. So yeah, it's pretty crazy the scale for such a small team that we're managing. Of course, we don't manage each individual device. We manage the servers, but we take support questions on a lot of stuff. So related to all those sites out there.
Yeah, and I know we talked about that too offline about, from a security standpoint that, even though you're hosting all of it, you don't have that direct access, just to kind of let people understand that you kind of want to speak on that of, some people obviously, but things like, using service for like storing passwords and stuff, people kind of get a little shaky with that, but kind of from like a security standpoint
Yeah.
and everything else. I know you talked about SOC and other things. So yeah, what are you guys doing with that? And just from like the actual management, just if there are people that, have certain types of data that, they need to be like HIPAA compliant or different things like that.
Yeah, so we get a lot of questions about security, and I'm really passionate about security. I used to work as a security analyst, and if I wasn't running HostiFi, I'd be a pen tester or something like that, because I'm really into security and stuff like that. So taking a security mindset, I took that into my business. And so, for as far as like training employees and stuff, we use two-factor authentication for everything. We have, one password for our team, so we can each have password management, and we have training on that. For every account has a different password, long, randomized, stuff like that. As far as access to our customer servers, we have SSH access into all of the servers to be able to update them, provide support, stuff like that. But that SSH access requires a private key, so we use SSH key pair authentication. the keys are encrypted, so you have to know the password to the key, and then it's kind of like three-factor because we also have Duo, so we get a push notification to our phone that has to be accepted. And so when our team accesses the server, every time they have to provide those three things. And then once we're in the server, we can do whatever we need to do to help the customer. But once we leave, we don't leave any accounts as far as like Unifi accounts. So we don't have any super admins that stay on the servers. When we leave, we delete the accounts. If we had to use one for support, we create them dynamically and stuff like that. So the only accounts we have are SSH, and that's locked down. And then as far as like our server physical security, we use Vultr as the cloud service provider, and they have data centers that are SOC compliant, like we are talking about, and PCI DSS compliant, stuff like that. And they also have many different locations. So for our customers in Europe, they like to have their server, in London or Paris or Frankfurt, to keep everything in the EU. And then same with Canada, they like to keep stuff out of the US as well, usually. So we have a data center in Toronto. And then we have customers in Australia. So we have servers in Sydney, usually not as much of a compliance concern, but more of a latency concern. They want it to be faster. So, but yeah, so we have customers all over the world, I think over 40 countries now. Our team is in 4 different countries. And so yeah, it's a very international, thing. And we have servers all over the place. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. What about from a, I guess, contract perspective? Is it month to month? I know that you can obviously pay for the full year. How does that look?
Yeah, so people ask about that sometimes too. It's just month to month or yearly. So you could have an annual, you get a discount if you sign up for the yearly plan. It's $49 per month or $4.99 per year. And you can cancel at any time. It's pay as you go. And if you're not happy with the service in the first month, we'll give you a full refund. So we have like a money back policy and stuff like that.
Awesome. I guess kind of just going into some Unifi stuff in general. The Cloud Key Gen 2, one of the most recent updates just going on, where essentially they took out the multi-site, which I feel like looked really good for obviously your business because it kind of bricked those things. But obviously then they kind of turned it back. What's kind of your take on some of those things? What do you kind of see as like the longevity of all of this? Yeah, I kind of just going on that.
Yeah, so it created a big stir in the community. Several people made YouTube videos about it. And in my opinion, I think it was an accident. Nobody knows for sure exactly what happened, but I think it was actually an accident that they removed the multi-site functionality from the Cloud Key. I think it was a design issue where they were changing the location of where the current site dropdown was. So if you look at the old one, you used to have the current site dropdown in the upper right, and you could add a new site there. Well, they moved it over to the left side only on the Cloud Key because in the upper right, they wanted to have a button where you can click for apps. But anyways, I think it was just an accident that they removed the ability to have multi-site. It was a big community uproar that they should continue multi-site. There was concern whether or not they're going to discontinue multi-site for everyone. Now, this never affected the actual self-hosted controller because it still had that current site drop down where you could add a new site. But yeah, so there was a big concern that they were going to remove multi-site functionality across the board. And so what's interesting that came out of this, though, is that for the first time, Ubiquiti reassured everyone that they had no plans to remove self-hosted and self-hosted controllers, which has been kind of this question lingering as they've made these new products like the UDM and the UDM Pro, where they're running the controller internally and they don't support being adopted to an external controller. So there's always this kind of lurking question that everyone was wondering, are they changing direction with their product? And so this was the first time where I think it's a good thing. And they actually said, we're not changing direction with the product. We're still going to support the self-hosted controllers. And I think another time that they did that was they're still making new products. After they made the UDM, they still made new products that still connect back to external controllers. So I'm not worried about it. Obviously, I'm biased to hope that this continues so that we can continue to do HostiFi. But honestly, I was never worried about it because I think it's so critical to their business model that they wouldn't. How do I say, shoot themselves in the foot to kill their own business model, which, the reason, one of their key unique selling points is no licensing, self-hosted. And if they were to take that away, I think there's a lot of competitors that are just waiting to take their business doing the same business model and having a self-hosted controller. And so either way, it wouldn't, so I just think, that it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal to begin with. I think it was overblown a little bit.
A lot of people probably also don't know, especially if they're like newer to the Unifi stuff, is that they actually used to have a service similar to what you have or what you've started now. So can you kind of talk on that? Because I know that didn't seem like it was around for very long. I mean, I started using Unifi stuff maybe back in, I don't know, 2016, 2017. I honestly had never heard about it. The only time I ended up hearing about it was when it was going out. And then in your blog, you kind of mentioned it too. So, which I at the time was like, well, that's really good for him because now all those customers have to kind of jump ship to your platform. So,
Yeah, it has been really good for us. Basically, what happened was it was right around the time that I launched HostiFi. Actually, it was before I launched HostiFi. Ubiquity had started their own cloud hosting service. And so basically, you could connect your devices just like HostiFi, where they would manage the controller, the updates, provide support, or at least that was what they told people they were going to do, but they didn't actually do it. But anyways, when they first started, it was really reasonable. It was only like $199 per year for 100 devices or something like that. But that was like a short time period, and then they increased the prices like 10x. So I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like $10 or $20 per access point. And so it was like thousands of dollars per month for the equivalent of like what we're doing for $50 a month, or thousands of dollars per year. And so it was like really expensive. And then on top of that, though, they really were never providing support on it. So like they stopped updating the controllers. We're still moving people over because basically what they did is like they never officially like shut it down, but they stopped allowing people to sign up for it. And so people are still paying all this money, and their controllers are actually on old, vulnerable, like insecure versions of Unifi that like 5.11.50 is when they did the final update on the controllers, and they haven't updated it since. They don't provide any support. I've heard horror stories about like people like lost their controller, didn't have any backups. And so, yeah, anyone that's still using that, let me know. We'll help you get migrated over to HostFi. But it was great for our business because they decided they were going to get out of that business. We were taking off at the same time, so we were really growing and absorbing that market. And I think Ubiquity decided that it wasn't something they wanted to focus on because they're really focused on being a hardware company, and they don't have the capacity or desire, I guess, to be a professional services company, which is really what it is. It's not as simple as just updating the controller. It's like, helping the customer and answering the phone, and it's not something they want to do clearly, so.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew getting into Unified products that it was pretty much either you figure out yourself, you go on, as you've talked about, Slack channels, Discord channels, whereas I've done a lot of work too with Meraki stuff, and kind of like you mentioned, the whole monthly or yearly, whatever it is, that's kind of Meraki's game. And for some
Yeah.
people, it's good. I worked at a company where I was managing all the IT, and we had multiple facilities and multiple, when you get to that level of different kind of complexities and stuff, it's hard to manage all that. So at the time, Meraki made sense because, instead of having to hire a bunch of networking people and, manage all of it, and with the support that they had, it made sense. But you're essentially paying then to, whatever someone may pay or get for a network engineer, whatever it might be, someone making $70,000-$80,000 a year, whatever it
Right.
might be. You're kind of paying Meraki to kind of simplify things, take on some of that support. Whereas Unifi, you don't really get that. But again, if you're someone who's knowledgeable enough to go to YouTube, Slack channels, Discords, and you've got the time to manage it, you can save kind of on twofold on that. You don't have to pay for the support, you also don't have to pay for the controller. So I think, yeah, again, that's why Unifi has done so well. So yeah, I mean, I really hope that they stick to this business model that they're on. One of the interesting things, I guess, with that though, is kind of the whole video aspect of it now, with Unifi Protect. And that's why I feel like they've kind of had this Unifi OS and everything's kind of building into that. You think they'll ever open that up to allow, and I mean, I don't even know if you would want to, because, you're talking about video having to then go over to these, servers that are offsite and everything. But or even say like access or phone. I mean, I feel like some of that may be interesting for you guys, but the video aspect may be a little much. But yeah, what's kind of your opinion on all that?
So, so yeah, I don't think we'll ever, I don't think Ubiquiti will ever make those self-hosted. But with video, so what's interesting is when they had Unifi Video before Protect and it was self-hosted, we actually
Yeah,
did do Unifi Video hosting for a while. And so our customers were able to connect cameras to it, but it was a huge problem. Like as far as like, it was very limited. You could only connect like 1 or 2 cameras because of the bandwidth requirements. It
yeah,
was actually the bandwidth requirements that were the biggest issue. So a camera is constantly uploading over the internet, 3 megabit per second, and it would cause over a terabyte of bandwidth to be used per month on the internet connection. So if you
yeah,
were on like a capped internet connection, you'd be using like your entire bandwidth for the month just with your camera streaming. And so that was really bad. And then the other issue was storage. So with the video storage, these little cloud servers, they have like 25 GB hard drive or 50 GB or whatever. And so they get really expensive the farther you get up on the storage side. And we could try to like, orchestrate it to offload to some other cheaper storage or something, but it would get really complicated. And
yeah,
so, yeah, people would put a bunch of cameras on it. And then one thing that was, people thought would make it work was, what if I only do motion only? Well, the problem was we discovered that if you have the cameras on motion only, it's actually still sending the entire video stream up constantly. So you're still
oh wow,
using all that bandwidth. And so, so even on motion only, it's still sending the whole video stream. That way it could cut a few seconds before the motion was detected to record it.
yeah,
So no matter what, we couldn't do video hosting. We did have a couple customers that had cameras that they just wanted to have view only. So that would work if you weren't recording at all and you just wanted to view the cameras once in a while. Then you could have a solution that would kind of work. But yeah, so video hosting was kind of a meh. I got out of it before they even stopped doing Unifi Video because I was like this. We had too many people signing up and not understanding the instructions because we made it pretty clear that like you can only upload 1 or 2 cameras or whatever, and you would have limited playback periods, but people didn't listen, and then we'd have support questions. And so I actually killed off our Unifi Video hosting before we found out about Protect, and then Protect was like the final nail in the coffin that like, okay, we can't do this anymore. But now I think what would be interesting is with the Talk product, I wish that Ubiquiti wasn't going in the direction of developing their own PBX, because the PBX is really complicated as far as all the different features a phone system needs, soft client, hard client, like all the different, connecting different types of phones to it. I guess they're only going to support the Ubiquiti phones, obviously, but it's just really complicated. I think what would be better is if they just focus on making the hardware, the actual physical phones, and then allow them to be connected to any third-party PBX like 3CX or 3PBX, and then make the Talk controller just a phone firmware pusher and configuration pusher. And so like, imagine if you had like a Talk controller that was cloud hosted, you could push firmware updates to all your devices and update their configurations. And the configurations would actually connect the phone back to like a 3CX or a 3PBX, but you would have that Talk controller managing all the phones. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but but like that's how I would envision like what they should have done. But what they actually did is like on premise, super limited PBX, not very many features, only connects to certain SIP trunk providers, and I think it's not a good product. Access is pretty interesting. That I think probably, I think the same thing, like a cloud hosted to push the firmware would be nice on that, but they're not going to do it. And then LED is another one that it would be great if they would allow cloud hosted on LED to manage all those lights, all your customer lighting equipment from the one server. But I don't think that's been a very successful product for them either. So I don't know. They're always trying new things, but they've kind of scared customers, I think, with all the new things they're trying. And I think everyone wishes they would just focus on improving like the USG as a better router and like stuff like that. but
yeah.
but they keep going all these different directions. But because they kill things off so quickly, people are kind of hesitant to like try out all these new products. So but
It's
I
kind
think
of
they're pretty interesting though,
it's kind of like the Google thing. There's a lot of things that Google actually even comes out with, and as big of a company they are, it's like if they're doing it, then yeah, it's definitely something that worries people. I mean, obviously, I feel like everyone's heard of Google Glass, and that those
Yeah,
are
yeah.
expensive. People bought into it. I mean, not a lot of people, but and then they kill it off, and then they do that with some phone type stuff. They do it with all sorts of hardware. So, yeah, I feel like some of the Unifi stuff. I mean, kind of going back really quick to what you were talking about with the video versus protect. I mean, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where I think people talked about part of the reason why they killed that off was kind of similar, where customers were trying to do things with
Mm.
their own controllers on site that it just really wasn't meant for, and then they would be complaining. They would write articles, or they would just tell people that it wasn't good, even though they just weren't really following what was actually intended for it. So by kind of now going with this, Unify Protect route, it's really locked down. It's kind of got that Apple feel to it, but
I was just gonna
um,
say, yeah, you have to
yeah,
keep in mind that it's heavily influenced by Apple aesthetics and also Apple mentality of like, if you own the hardware, it's easier to support and all that. And so I think
yeah.
you like that model for sure. But it's they can control every aspect of it.
Didn't the founder, didn't he start at Apple?
Yeah, actually, so the founder story, recommend everyone looking into. I mean, there's really not a lot of information out there, but it's just really interesting that he started out just a guy working at Apple as an Apple engineer, working on the Airport Extreme. I think it was called the Airport Extreme, the Apple Wi-Fi router that they're making in 2006 or 2005, and so he went from there to starting Ubiquiti, and I just think it's a really awesome story how he started just with his own, credit card debt and building his first Ubiquiti product, which was a point-to-point connection, a long-range wireless connection product, and then using that to reinvest into another product and another product, and eventually, IPO and become the huge company that it is today. But it started out as just one guy with, credit cards. It's
Yeah.
awesome, pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Either way.
speaking of the point to point, I've always wanted to get into that, and one of these days I hope I can actually do that. I've joked with a couple of buddies of mine that live somewhat nearby of setting that up, where you literally put it on your roof and then broadcast your internet over to their house or something along those lines. But yeah, haven't really found a actual use case for that yet. So
Yeah, I
hopefully
did it
someday.
across the street here. We had a building that we couldn't get its own internet connection for a while during COVID. They wouldn't come out to like during the first March of 2020. They wouldn't come out to install stuff, and
Yeah.
so we couldn't get an internet connection at this one building. We connected it with two nanostation locos and got like a 300 megabit connection between the two buildings and fed the internet to it. But those are only like $49 each, and they're really, really awesome. And so I have those connected to my UISP server where I can push firmware updates and monitor the connection, get email alerts about it and everything. But yeah, it's really cool. And then we have customers who are wireless internet service providers also. So they have an entire business built on the UISP server where they're connecting subscribers' houses up to towers and then back to backhaul links and into the ground and everything. It's really cool.
That's they call that a WISP, right?
Yeah, wireless
Yeah.
internet service provider.
Yep. Yeah, I always like wonder on the legality of that. I feel like obviously the people that are doing it are usually doing it right, but kind of going back to my joking scenario of broadcasting my internet out
Yeah,
to like a couple of friends' houses, it's like that's where I feel like you gotta make sure you look into that stuff before you start doing it.
yeah, because there's a few different issues with it, and you can't just, typically you can't just broadcast your home internet connection because as a residential user, and you're not permitted to do that. It's against your terms of service, and so you have to purchase, a different type of internet connection to do that, to allow you to do that. But yeah, there's issues with that, and then we also have a lot of customers who are doing wide scale mesh networks for poor countries or different or neighborhoods, even like different neighborhoods and stuff like that. And so like they've got a bunch of Unifi access points that are all meshed together in neighborhoods, and then interesting legal concerns with that and like who's using what, doing what on the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can get a little tricky. But yeah, definitely you can resell your own internet at home. Normally, it's against the terms of service.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of wrap this up, is there anything else that, people should know about the service? I guess, kind of what else is out there type of thing.
Yeah, so like whether you're a customer or not, we're always like pretty active in the Ubiquiti community. So if you're out there installing the stuff, always feel free to reach out to us. Like I said, whether you're a customer or not, we're always looking to learn more about, what kind of questions you have, what we might be able to help you. You can reach out to us on our website. We have live chat on our website. You can call us or email us. And if you want to connect with us on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, we'd love to be connected with anybody that's out there installing Ubiquiti stuff.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate it. I hope everyone liked this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Greg.